All right, welcome to today's explainer. We are going to take a highly analytical, rigorously serious look at what is, frankly, one of the most utterly ridiculous hypothetical scenarios imaginable. Based on an intriguing analysis of liquid volume and extreme environment logistics, we are asking a question that completely pushes the boundaries of animal biology and crisis management. Can dogs pee out a wildfire? Okay, let's dive right into this. So I want you to start small here. Picture this. You're at home, and a tiny, localized fire is just about to catch in your living room or maybe your kitchen. It's a terrifying moment, right? But what if your best friend, your large dog, was right there, standing next to it with a totally full bladder? Could a dog actually pee out a fire? Well, according to our source material, in that incredibly specific micro scenario, yeah, absolutely. Your dog could actually have enough pee to put out that tiny fire before it grows. But how does that concept scale up? And this brilliantly illustrates our core conflict here. A small house fire is manageable, it's localized, and a single canine hero could technically handle the job. But a sprawling wildfire, scaling up from a living room to a vast raging forest, changes the physics entirely. The rules of engagement completely shift when a fire grows beyond a singular contained spark. What works in a house absolutely falls apart out in the wilds. Which brings us to section 1, doing the math. To really evaluate this hypothesis on a macro scale, we have to start with a crucial metric: 1/3 of a gallon. That is the daily urine output of a single large dog. Just 1/3 of a gallon, produced over an entire 24-hour period. I want you to just sit with that incredibly tiny metric for a second, because it's literally the foundational building block of this entire thought experiment. Now flip the script and contrast that single third of a gallon with the massive volume of liquid that professional firefighters actually need to combat a sprawling wildfire. I mean, we are not talking about a bucket or a garden hose here. We are talking about thousands upon thousands of gallons of water to even make a dent. You can really start to see the sheer mathematical absurdity of our premise. Think of a microscopic sliver. That's our heroic dog's daily third of a gallon. Now contrast that with a massive, overwhelming slice representing the thousands of gallons required by professional emergency services. The visual disparity between a single dog's output and the relentless, thirsty demand of a wildfire is, quite frankly, staggering. So the crucial point becomes finding the break-even number, right? If one dog yields 1/3 of a gallon a day, exactly how many large dogs are required to mathematically meet the volume threshold for those thousands of gallons? 30 million. Let that sink in. 30 million large dogs. That is the exact number required to even begin to match the volume of water that firefighters drop on a blaze. All right, moving on to section 2, the proximity problem. Okay, so we've solved the math equation, theoretically anyway. We have our 30 million large dogs ready to go. But let's see how this actually plays out, because now we have to shift our narrative from pure mathematics to the terrifying physical realities on the ground. You simply cannot just march 30 million dogs into a blazing forest. Why does a ground assault fail? Well, as our source points out, wildfires are incredibly spread out across vast, unpredictable terrains. And more importantly, they are extremely, dangerously hot. The dogs simply cannot get close enough to deploy their payload. The logistical and safety barriers absolutely prevent an army of 30 million dogs from just walking up to the fire line safely. So what's next? Section 3, the airborne solution. If the ground is way too hot and the terrain is way too vast, there is literally only one logical pivot left in our thought experiment to make this work. We have to load these 30 million large dogs onto thousands of airplanes. Just think about the sheer, mind-boggling logistics of that for a moment. Thousands of specialized aircraft, packed to the brim with millions of large canines, mobilizing into the airspace directly above a raging inferno. It's wild. And this brings us to the final, highly coordinated, tactical maneuver required for this completely absurd operation to succeed. Step 1, load 30 million dogs onto thousands of planes. Step 2, fly in perfect, steady formation over the massive wildfire. Step 3, the dogs must all pee at the exact same time. Yep. Without step 3, the entire mission just falls apart. Which finally brings us to section 4, the final verdict. We have crunched the numbers, we've identified the severe geographical hurdles, and we've drafted a highly complex aeronautical strategy to bypass the intense heat. It's time to deliver the ultimate conclusion. Our source material states it plainly, hitting the nail right on the head. To make this work, quote, they would have to pee at the exact same time to fully put out the fire, end quote. The required volume of 30 million dogs is entirely useless without absolute, synchronized precision. The margin for error here is practically zero. Millions of biological bladders, thousands of planes, and one singular, impossible moment of synchronicity to actually extinguish the flames. Which leaves us with one final, deeply important question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer today. If we could somehow manage the impossible, if we could actually train 30 million large dogs to coordinate perfectly, load them safely onto thousands of airplanes, and release their payload on absolute, synchronized command, what other global crises could we solve? I mean, the sheer scale of this thought experiment is a great reminder of the amazing logistics humans actually orchestrate to keep us safe every single day. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep questioning the world around you, and I will see you in the next explainer.